So we could move on with, I'd like to introduce this one now as a great gift to my heart. I always say if it wasn't for my stylist, who knows where I'd be today, that she was able to walk with me. And I was working back in the mill when we got together, and all my mill buddies would go down to the Chimainas pub to have a few drinks, leave early Friday. And they were saying, come on, let's go shoot some pool. And for me, as being an alcoholic, I was nervous to go back into this bar scene again. And I went home and I told the stylist, my buddies invited me down to the bar, and I don't know. And she says, just go shoot pool with them, have coffee. And man, I tell you, I was nervous as heck. And then I went that Friday evening, we went down to the bar, and I walked in there and I was smelling the smoke in the pub, and it kind of wrinkled my nose. And how did we always do this? How did we go to the bar and have a smoke and not even affect us? And I tell you that really affected me on walking in that bar just to shoot pool. And I tell you, I couldn't shoot pool, I guess because I was sober and shaky and, whatever. But, my stylist always encouraged me, your friends are important. Keep those important friends here, and you'll know your friends. So I'd like to call upon my stylist, Donna Johnny, now to share a few words. And I tell you, I lived with these words. We talk back and forth. We bounce off of each other, and that's what we need in life. Hi, Tapka.
I squeal. I Quanasilam Nama. It is so good to be here to see each and every one that is here. Antsa Tsawout, also known as Donna Johnny. My home is Tsawout and Skowlet, the Pannier family and the Leon family. And I've been married into Kawatsin 34 years. I'm a counselor, been for a number of years. And as was shared by our elder, that gift of counseling, because of the love that I have for change, for sobriety, for health, for people to do well. I'm so grateful. I'm honored to be called upon today to speak and share a little bit in amongst of all these beautiful words that are shared today. That the elder would look upon me, to call me, to share something. And, to me this day is a day of remembering who we truly are. Who we are. My years of drinking was because I bought into the colonization, that I had no voice, that I was nobody. I was less than the other people. And the falseness of alcohol for me numbed that feeling, but it got me nowhere. I struggled to sober up, and when I did, I would go back, like someone talked about that, when trouble would happen, then there was the alcohol whispering. They don't care about you. No one cares about you. Here, I'm here. And, that voice. But it was the friends I hung out with. Some sobered up. And I got happy to see how happy they were. And so we kind of chummed along when we find those friends that we could be sober with. And we used to have that dance in Nanaimo there, the dry dance. We could go and mingle and socialize, learn to have fun sober. It was not easy. But that gift came, and with that was attending. I had to walk my talk first. I had to learn how to be sober and happy to be sober before I could get into the field of helping others effectively. And that's what happened. I'm sorry I'm getting lost because I'm just, my mind is all over the place right now. But I did that. I sobered up. I went to counseling. There's so much there too about attending AA and support groups. In AA they talked about having a higher power, and I understood a higher power because I was raised to have respect for Mother Earth, for each other, the way my grandmother taught us. But over the years of things I held in my heart, resentment was in there, mistrust and hate. And but I didn't talk about that. And what we don't talk about becomes our ailment. It becomes my sickness. And I went home. I was glad to be sober, and I was more committed than ever. And I went home to bring the message to my family, my immediate family, why we should sober up. And like the elder was talking about, because our kids were watching what we were doing, and they were following in our footsteps, and I was afraid for them. And I went to a meeting back home, and I sat around the table, and I talked, and I shared that I hated alcohol, what it's done to our family, what it's done to me, what it's done to our family. The loss of family members, the loss of my parents, the loss of relatives. And the circle went around, and it came to one of my uncles. And he said, for me, he said, hate is a strong word. And I got that. I could feel that. I knew that was unhealthy. It didn't feel right in here, but it was there. And he said, for me, I use the word respect. I respect alcohol. And I thought to myself, Uncle, what planet are you from? How do we respect alcohol? I was thinking, but we're not going to say that. And he said, I respect alcohol like I respect poison. And I thought about that if I had poison in the house, I would put it so far up that no little hands could touch it because it kills. And that was my life. And I used that to this very day because I have to keep working at keeping hate out of here. To keep love. It is true. There's so much. We can look at our family, we can see what we don't like, but we also got to see what we like about our families, about ourselves even. My grandmother raised me. She said to me when I turned 12 years old, she said, I quit doing what I was doing. She said, because I don't want you to do that when you get older. And I kind of knew what she was talking about, but she said it, I quit drinking. And that had a pronounced effect on my life forever. I always remember her words. She didn't tell me not to drink. She didn't tell me to do anything. She said, I quit because I don't want you to do that. So she set the example. And there was only one thing my grandmother asked me. Out of everything else, how grandparents are, they tell us what to do. They teach us, they guide us, they tell us what to do. But there's only one thing she ever asked me. She saved the best for her to ask me because I was so precious to her that I would not do drugs. It's like of everything, anything she could ask me in life, that was her one thing she asked. And when I was tempted, when peer pressure came, I used to want to do that. I would think about it, but her words would be there. So I just want to encourage the young moms that are here. Savor the very best thing you want for your child. Tell them. So I went back home with the good news of being sober. And at first, my family was so happy to see me. They're inviting me for family dinners and everything like that. And then I got too preachy, I think, telling you to be sober. And then nobody's inviting me to dinner anymore. And I felt alone and I felt sad. And as a matter of fact, they're inviting me to have a drink with them. But I didn't know how to handle it. I just withdrew. But I knew that was dangerous for me. So the only thing I knew to do was pray. And in that prayer, the Lord showed me, when we talk about visions and dreams, Tsawout spoke to me and said, if I walk my talk, it'll say those thousands of words I want to say to my family. And that's us. If we walk our talk, it'll speak those words that we want our children to hear and to see. And that's been kind of one of my mottos, to walk my talk. And, I just give a little bit of background into how becoming a counselor happened for me. The love and the passion and the dreams and the visions and the training. One just quickly sharing, before I got into counseling, I knew that part of my sobriety was to keep exercise. I used to go jogging in the morning. And I get up and I do my stretches and do everything and I head out the door. And this one morning, I felt this message that said to me, pick up a rock. And I thought, am I hallucinating? What's wrong with me? But there's no one that knows what's going on here, so I'm going to do that. I picked up a rock. And I heard the question to me that said, what's the story of the rock? And I thought, okay, Lord, Great Spirit, you know everything, and you're asking me what's the story of the rock? So I thought, okay, I'll just go along with this because, it was the moment. And so I went jogging, and I started talking to the rock. They tell us that we can talk to animals, we can talk to birds, we can talk to plants. They understand, they hear, they feel. So I was talking to the rock. What's your story? God wants to know. And nothing, dead silence. All the way I got to the end of where I was jogging to. And I said, I got no story. I was told I threw the rock into the water, and the rock floated down onto the sand, and then I got kind of a direction from that point that showed me that, what is sand? Chipped up rock. And on my way back, I was walking, and the Creator asked me, what's under that hill? There's where we go canoe pulling in Nanaimo. And that hill was there, and I said, rock and dirt. And then it kind of clued into me that that was my parents. I had no contact with my parents. I didn't, I maybe saw them twice in my life, just saw pictures of them. But when He showed me that I could learn their story if I applied myself, if I'd be quiet in me and just be patient, I could hear their story. So I was thrilled that, okay, I found a means, I found a little way that I could build myself up to build my identity. And then the next day I was out again, and the Creator said, pick up that rock. And I thought, this is too much. I was going to keep going. So I kept running. But I felt that surge of guilt that I wasn't listening. Turned around and I ran back and I picked up that rock. And I knew it. What's the story of the rock? And here we go again. And I start grumbling, Lord, that when we get into a pace, we don't like to stop, trying to find my excuse. But I start focusing on the rock. Tell me your story. Nothing, dead silence, heavy weight. Squeeze a little bit. God wants to know what your story. Nothing. I tried to plead with it. Please tell me, what's your story? God wants to know. Nothing. Oh, nothing. Everything I tried, there was nothing. And so I said to the Creator, I said, well, it's big, and it's damp, and it's got a dip on this side. And then the response to that was a description of the rock. It wasn't the story of the rock. And then further down the road, I finally gave up, and I said, I don't know what the story of the rock. It's not telling me. And the Creator said, that's right. And likewise you. That was what came to me, that if I don't tell my story, if I don't tell anyone what's happening for me, and I can't blame anybody for not knowing. And likewise me, we're us workers, we can give descriptions, we can plead, we can cajole, we can do all these things to try and get the story from a person. Because finding that safe person they can share with, tell their story, that's good medicine. To be able to find that trusting person that you can share your story, who's not going to go blab it to everyone. I just wanted to share that today. I believe that was part of my training from Tsawout, from the ancestors, that I have a work to do. And, it's come out so clear today that each one of us is born with a gift. And I believe that is my gift, to walk beside, to help, to have that ear to listen to someone's story as they share. I marvel at our Hul'qumi'num, our elders, our ancestors. I think of the stories I've heard that when a child was born, the elders knew. They'd look at that baby over, and they would see if that baby was a reborn soul or a new soul. They knew. If that baby was a reborn soul, they knew how to talk to them, train them, teach them, or a new soul. And I think to myself today, where are we on that ability to do that? How much do we have to learn? Our elders were so smart. And here today, we stand here today, all of us gathered together because of that kind of dream and guidance. This is all that I'll share. There's lots more I could do, and thank you for the moment to share, and you're listening to me. I love and appreciate every one of you. Hi, Tsapka.
Harchka. And, today I won't kick a rock. I won't kick a rock today. I know that story of the rock. And there's also other stories of elders that speak of a rock as well, and that's in the Hul'qumi'num Lake, when she told a story about her dad. Her dad was a farmer, and she tried to wrap a chain, or he did, tried to wrap a chain around the rock to pull it out of the ground. And she was saying that it was pulled so hard that they couldn't get the chain off that rock. So they left the chain on there. Years after, they went and checked that rock out, and the rocks start forming over that chain. And she says it goes to show that rocks grow. And that's her story of that rock. And she was saying if you're up high enough from Hul'qumi'num Lake, you can see that big rock still in the middle of that lake. And thank you for bringing that story out. And it just brings back memories of a lot of the elders' teachings of what they bring to us. Is that everything has a spirit. Everything has a spirit in our life. And that's how we treasure each and everything that we step on. Each and every path that we go on, we treasure them because they have a spirit.